One of the challenges of early financial planning software was adding an asset class that wasn't already in the library, right? I remember this with older versions of very popular tools that I will not throw shade on today, but it was very hard to show something like farmland, or it was very hard to show something like a reverse mortgage, right? Or it was very hard to show something like, I have a quarry that I've inherited a piece of, right? So how do we go about smart planning when someone's holding an asset that isn't kind of an easily tracked equity, or even for that matter, if they're holding private equity? How then can we do a better job in retirement of showing that picture with that asset that may be not traditional?
I mean, I would say back to how we started the conversation about what we need to understand to answer that question: what can I spend? What could my life be like? What sorts of adjustments could I make? We have to understand what resources you bring to that task. And so, and it's all, even it's in the name Income Lab, it's all through the lens of income. Like what's the cash flow that could be coming to me? So if it were farmland that I'm leasing or something, what really matters most is those cash flows, right? I was nice to see something on your balance sheet, I suppose, right? But I think of that as like, we're painting a picture, and the most important parts that we've already talked about, that's the center of the picture. You want to get, the asset value of your farmland 20 years from now. Okay, that's sort of the edge of the picture. All right, we'll color in that at some point. But I need to know, are you getting lease payments? That could have a huge effect, just like it could have a huge effect if you have a pension, rental property, annuities, Social Security, right? The timing of Social Security, are those going to be fully adjusted for inflation? Will they be nominal? Will they have their own special, cost of living adjustments applied? All of that matters a lot and can change how much somebody could spend today and what their long-term experience could end up looking like.
Well, I think that's a really good perspective because, when we start talking about non-stock and bond assets, often illiquidity comes into play, right? My ability to monetize the bulk of it. But if you look at it from an income standpoint, I think that's a pretty clever solution, because what we're doing is saying, okay, yes, there's this big piece of farmland, but for the purposes of your retirement plan, that's going to be X $1,000 a month or year coming in, and not viewing it necessarily as the asset, but the underlying piece. I think that's really, really a clever perspective. One of the things I really love about Income Lab is the ability to, when you're planning for retirement, and what bucket do I pull out of when? That was always something prior to the world that was a little bit of, well, this is how I do it, right? This is how Craig does it. This is how Derek does it. So Mike does it. Justin does it, right? And as professionals, we kind of would have maybe a pattern or rhythm or just this kind of, I don't know, understanding of rules that like, oh, we're supposed to eat up this bucket first and that bucket second. But I was wondering if Derek or Mike, you wanted to talk to the tax bucketing, tax allocation capability Income Labs got, and how that could be really helpful to an advisor.
Yeah, I think for me, that's a really big part of meeting with clients and talking through how that actually impacts them. And, it is kind of humbling as an advisor just to see how much I need to rely on, a tool like that to actually crunch the numbers to figure out. Because, I might have a general guess, okay, maybe this person is a good candidate for Roth conversions. Maybe this person, maybe a 22% bracket might be about optimal for them. But sometimes I run the numbers and my intuition really wasn't right there. So, having a tool to rely on and be able to go back and look at that, and, Income Lab's very powerful from being able to, as long as you have things built out in terms of what's tax deferred, what's tax free, what's taxable, what sort of distribution options do you have with different accounts? Can you convert? Can you not? As long as you have all those settings set up, then you can actually allow the software to basically look at maybe not every single combination, but the practical sorts of combinations of ways that somebody might go about like a Roth conversion strategy, and seeing what's going to kind of find that optimal level of saving you on lifetime taxes. And so for me, that's really powerful tool. And yeah, it's, I have general rules where I can kind of say, okay, in most cases, we're looking in this sort of pattern, but you really need the tool to actually get in and say specifically, yeah, for you, Mr. and Mrs. Client, we're looking at converting to the 24% bracket really being the optimal in the long term. Then, of course, you come back, revisit that, adjust it. Tax rules change. We know that that's not set in stone, but really to get to that number with any real confidence, that I rely on the tool as a way to get that long-term planning.
Which is a huge for the conversation around value.
Oh my goodness, yes.
We can talk, till we're blue in the face about, oh, well, we provide asset allocation, asset location, and this is how we optimize things. But the fact that you can actually demonstrate the amount of you can demonstrate the value very clearly when you're showing the proper buckets to choose from. And to Derek's point about the humbling experience of, we all do this. I had a conversation with clients the other day where we talked about, should they be putting it in raw? When should they do a conversion? Should they do a conversion? And I'm doing the math in my head, and then I might go back and say, okay, well, I was off a little bit, or a lot for that matter. And so it's a great way to demonstrate value. I think, if you're having conversations about your fee and how you justify your fee, this is a very easy way to show, I think I'm earning my pay here.